The castle of Paragon was quiet that evening, the golden light of the setting sun streaming through the high windows. The halls, usually bustling with servants and guards, felt almost empty. Only the faint echo of footsteps bounced off the stone walls. Dragon Emperor Kale, a towering figure with scales glinting like molten gold, strode through the main hall with the grace of a predator. His eyes, sharp and piercing, missed nothing. He had ruled the kingdom for centuries, and even the smallest disturbance did not escape his notice. Tonight, something in the air felt wrong. A whisper of unease lingered, almost like a shadow moving just beyond the corner of vision. Kale's instincts were finely tuned, not just for battle but for the subtle signs of deceit and suffering among those who served in his court. He could sense when something was hidden, when someone was in pain. As he passed the servants' quarters, he noticed a young human maid moving quietly across the corridor. Her hair was tied neatly, and her posture was cautious, as if she feared being seen. Her small hands clutched a stack of linens, and she walked swiftly, avoiding the gaze of the few remaining servants in the hall. There was something unusual about her. Kale's golden eyes narrowed. She was trembling slightly, and the sleeves of her uniform were rolled down in a way that seemed unnatural. Something about the way she moved caught his attention. Subtle hesitations, small, careful gestures that spoke of fear. He stopped in his tracks and watched her closely. The maid paused near a doorway and glanced around nervously before continuing. Kale noticed the faint marks along her forearms, partially hidden under her sleeves. Bruises. Fresh bruises. He felt a flicker of concern mixed with anger. How had she been hurt, and why had no one reported it? His eyes shifted toward the guards stationed nearby, standing stiffly by the walls. Their expressions were carefully neutral, but Kale had seen that look before, the uneasy pretense of innocence. "Why is she trembling?" Kale murmured, his deep voice echoing slightly in the quiet hall. "And what are these marks?" The guards stiffened as Kale approached. Their hands hovered near the hilts of their weapons, though they knew better than to challenge the Dragon Emperor. Still, their evasive glances did not go unnoticed. One of the younger guards, a man named Torin, tried to meet Kale's gaze but faltered. She is fine, Your Majesty," Torin said, his voice slightly higher than usual, betraying his nervousness. Kale's eyes glinted sharply. "Fine?" he repeated slowly, his tone calm but carrying the weight of command. "Do you call this fine?" He gestured toward the maid's arms. "She bears wounds, and you speak of fine?" The guards exchanged uneasy looks. Another, older guard named Yarrick, cleared his throat. It's nothing serious, Your Majesty. She must have stumbled or—" Kale cut him off with a wave of his hand. His presence was commanding, a mixture of authority and latent danger that caused even the most stubborn men to pause. "Do not lie to me. I see everything. Speak the truth." The guards hesitated. Their silence spoke volumes. Kale's gaze shifted back to the maid. She had frozen in place, her eyes wide and filled with fear. Her small frame shook slightly, and she hugged the linens closer to her chest. Kale's voice softened, almost imperceptibly, as he spoke directly to her. "Child, tell me, what has happened to you?" The maid's eyes darted to the guards, then back to Kale. She bit her lip and opened her mouth, but no words came out. The tension in the hall was thick, like a storm about to break. Kale stepped closer, his massive wings folding behind him, and lowered his voice to a gentle rumble. "You are safe with me. Speak freely. No harm will come to you for telling the truth." Her hands trembled, and she finally whispered, I did not mean to. It was the guards." Kale's eyes narrowed. His instincts, honed over centuries of rule and battle, told him that she had only just revealed a fragment of the truth. The way she spoke, hesitating, fearful, and careful with her words, suggested danger, deceit, and secrets deeper than a single bruise. He turned his gaze to the guards. "Explain yourselves," Kale demanded, his voice now a low growl. "Do you think I cannot see what you hide?" Torin swallowed hard, glancing at his fellow guards for support. It was discipline, Your Majesty. She broke rules. Kale's wings unfurled slightly, a subtle display of his immense power. The air in the hall seemed to thrum with energy. Rules? He said, each word deliberate. Are rules more important than the safety of those under your watch? The guards could not answer. Their silence was heavy, full of guilt and fear. Kale's golden eyes swept the hall, sharp and all-seeing. The young maid's fear, the marks on her arms, the guard's hesitation. It all told a story of cruelty and concealment. Kale knelt slightly, lowering himself to the maid's level. I will not allow harm to come to you, but you must trust me. Speak everything, every detail, no matter how small or frightening. She nodded, her voice shaking. They wanted to keep me quiet. If I said anything, they said. She trailed off, her fear palpable. Kale's jaw tightened. His mind raced, considering the implications. Guards meant to protect the castle, the kingdom, and its inhabitants. Yet here was evidence that some among them were a threat. His anger was restrained but simmering, controlled only by centuries of discipline. Child, Kale said softly, rest now. You will not face this alone. I will uncover the truth. No one will harm you again while I am here. The maid's shoulders slumped slightly, relief washing over her. She dared to hope that perhaps someone truly powerful could intervene. Kale rose slowly, his eyes still glinting with the sharp edge of authority. He turned toward the guards, his gaze like fire. This is not over, he said, voice low and cold. I will watch, and I will discover everything you seek to hide. The truth will come to light. The guards shivered, and the weight of the Dragon Emperor's presence pressed down on them like the shadow of a coming storm. Kale's instincts told him that this was only the beginning. The bruises were a symptom of a deeper sickness within the castle. A secret that could threaten not just the maid, but the stability of the kingdom itself. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows through the hall, Kale's mind was already moving ahead. He would find the truth piece by piece. He would protect the innocent, and he would punish those who dared to abuse their power. The young maid, still trembling slightly, watched him with wide eyes. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, she felt that perhaps someone in this castle truly cared for her well-being. But she also knew that the danger was far from over. Kale's golden gaze swept over the hall one last time before he turned and disappeared into the deeper corridors of the castle. Somewhere in the shadows, the guards whispered nervously among themselves, aware that the Dragon Emperor's attention was now fixed on them. And in that quiet, tense moment, the first thread of a larger, darker truth began to unravel. The night had fully fallen over the castle of Paragon. Outside, the wind whispered through the towers, carrying a chill that seemed almost alive. Inside, the halls were quiet, but Dragon Emperor Kale's mind was alive with questions. He could not stop thinking about the young human maid and the fresh bruises on her arms. Something inside him told him that what he had seen was only a small part of a much larger secret. Kale moved silently through the corridors, his wings tucked close to his back. The guards he had confronted earlier were no longer in sight, but he knew their fear had not disappeared. Fear often left traces, small cracks that revealed hidden truths. Kale's eyes scanned the hallways and doorways, looking for anything unusual. Even in the dim candlelight, nothing escaped his notice. The slightest scuff mark on the floor, the faint scent of oil or blood, or the tiny footprint left by someone hurrying in secret. He paused near the servants' quarters. The young maid had gone to her small room, likely trembling under the covers as she tried to hide from the world. Kale considered approaching her again, but something caught his attention. A faint sound, almost like whispering, drifted from the corridor ahead. His head tilted slightly, listening. The sound was deliberate, cautious. Someone was moving, someone who did not want to be seen. Kale's massive form moved like a shadow. He followed the sound silently, his claws making no noise against the polished stone floor. Around a corner, he saw two guards speaking in hushed tones. Their faces were tight with anxiety. She knows too much now, one of them muttered. If he finds out, we're finished. Cale's eyes narrowed. They were plotting something. His instincts told him this was bigger than a few bruises. These guards were not merely careless. They were hiding something dangerous. Without a sound, Cale stepped into the open. His golden scales reflected the flickering torchlight, making him seem like a creature of fire. The guards froze, their eyes widening in fear. Speak clearly, Cale's voice rumbled, deep and commanding. What are you hiding? The younger guard, Torin, tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. The older guard, Yarrick, swallowed and shook his head. It's nothing, Your Majesty, he said, but his voice betrayed him. Cale's gaze swept over them, sharp and unyielding. Nothing, he repeated. Tell me everything, or the truth will find you anyway. I always know when lies are spoken in my halls. For a long moment, the guards said nothing. Cale turned away, his massive wings brushing the walls as he moved. Then you leave me no choice, he said quietly. I will discover the truth on my own. He left the guards trembling behind him and moved deeper into the castle. His steps took him to the old library, a place where few servants ever went. Dust hung in the air, and rows of ancient tomes lined the walls. Cale had always preferred the knowledge of the library. Books held secrets that people often tried to hide. Perhaps here he would find the first clue. Cale's eyes scanned the shelves, moving with precision. His gaze landed on a small, nearly hidden book that had been carelessly placed among larger tomes. It was a record of servant duties, but something about it felt off. Flipping it open with careful claws, he noticed small notes scribbled in the margins. Times, places, names. Subtle details that suggested meetings in secret, rooms left unattended, and orders given quietly to certain guards. A cold wind blew through the library as Cale read. The notes hinted at something sinister. A pattern of abuse, hidden within the daily routines of the castle. The young maid was not alone. Others may have suffered in silence. Cale's mind sharpened. He had to act carefully. Confronting the guards too openly could drive the culprits to hide evidence or harm the maid. As he studied the records, Cale heard a soft sound behind him. He spun, claws ready, but it was only the maid. She had crept into the library, her small frame shaking, eyes wide. Emperor Cale, she whispered. I wanted to help. I can show you. Cale nodded slowly, lowering his voice. You are brave to come here, child. Show me what you know, but stay quiet. We cannot let others know. The maid led him through narrow corridors to a small storage room, hidden behind a tapestry. Inside, Cale saw signs of struggle. Overturned boxes, torn fabric, faint streaks of blood. The room had clearly been used to punish someone, or more than one person. Cale's golden eyes flared with anger and concern. Who did this? He asked, voice calm but firm. The maid's voice trembled. The guards, they take people here when they misbehave. They hurt them. I try to hide, but sometimes I hear. Cale's jaw tightened. He did not need to hear more. His instincts already confirmed the truth. A conspiracy within his own castle. But he also realized that exposing it too soon could put the maid in danger. He had to proceed carefully, uncovering every layer without alerting the guilty. Thank you for telling me, Cale said. You are safe for now, but you must trust me. We will find the truth together, piece by piece. And I promise, those who did this will answer for their crimes. The maid nodded, relief washing over her, though fear still lingered in her eyes. Cale sensed that this was only the beginning. The bruises, the hidden room, the scribbled notes, all threads of a larger, darker tapestry. Cale left the room, moving silently through the castle. He watched the guards, listened to whispers in the halls, and began to piece together the story of abuse and deception. Every detail mattered. Every glance, every hesitation, every word spoken or unspoken added to the puzzle. As dawn approached, Cale returned to his chambers, but his mind did not rest. The castle held secrets, some of which were dangerous enough to threaten not just the young maid but the kingdom itself. He had to uncover them all before the conspirators could strike again. Outside, the first light of morning began to filter through the castle towers. Inside, Dragon Emperor Kale planned his next move. The investigation had begun, and the truth was waiting to be revealed. But Kale knew one thing for certain: the castle would never be the same again. And somewhere, hidden in the shadows, the guilty guards whispered among themselves, unaware that the Dragon Emperor's golden eyes were already watching them, seeing far more than they could imagine. The sun had barely risen over the castle of Paragon, but Dragon Emperor Kale was already awake. His golden eyes scanned the courtyard as the first rays of light touched the stone walls. The castle seemed peaceful, almost ordinary, but Kale knew better. Beneath the quiet surface lurked lies, fear, and cruelty. The bruises on the human maid were only the beginning. He had uncovered clues, scribbled notes, and hidden rooms, and now it was time to confront those responsible. Kale moved silently through the hallways, his massive wings folded behind him. Every step was careful, controlled, but each carried the weight of authority that few dared challenge. The guards he had questioned the night before were stationed at their posts, pretending normalcy. But Kale saw the tension in their stiff movements, the nervous flicker in their eyes. He approached the main guard post, where Torin and Yarrick were standing. The younger guard's hands trembled slightly as he adjusted his armor. Kale stopped a few feet away, his golden eyes fixed on them. "You have been hiding things from me?" Kale said, his voice low and calm, yet carrying a subtle warning. "I know about the bruises, the hidden rooms, the scribbled notes. Now I want the truth. All of it." Torin swallowed hard. "Your Majesty." Kale's gaze sharpened. He did not need excuses or lies. "Do not speak unless you speak the truth," he said. "Every lie will only make your punishment greater." Yarrick's jaw tightened. He glanced at Torin, then back at Kale. "It was discipline, Your Majesty. We were following orders." Kale's wings shifted slightly, a subtle display of his power. The air in the courtyard felt heavier, charged with tension. "Discipline?" he repeated. "Tell me, what kind of discipline leaves bruises and fear in those you are meant to protect?" The guards faltered. Their evasive looks and stammering words betrayed their guilt. Kale's instincts told him that they had been covering for someone, or perhaps even themselves. The hidden room, the scribbled notes, and the young maid's fear were pieces of a puzzle, and these guards held part of the answer. Kale stepped closer, his massive form imposing. "Speak, or I will find the truth without your help. And trust me, you will not like what happens then." The younger guard, Torin, glanced nervously at Yarrick before speaking. It wasn't just us. Some orders came from higher up. We were told to keep her quiet, to punish her if she disobeyed." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Higher up?" he asked, his voice now a low, dangerous rumble. "Who gave these orders? Speak clearly." Yarrick hesitated, his fear growing. "I cannot say, Your Majesty, but you should know others are involved. More guards, maybe even people in positions you trust." Kale's mind sharpened. The conspiracy was bigger than he had thought. It wasn't just a few careless guards. It was a network of deception reaching deep into his own castle. The young maid's suffering had been allowed, even encouraged, by those who should have protected her. He turned his gaze back to the maid, who had been watching quietly from a shadowed corridor. Her small hands trembled as she clutched the linens close to her chest. Kale lowered his voice so she could hear. "Do not fear. I will protect you, but you must trust me completely. Tell me everything you know." The maid nodded, swallowing hard. They beat me, sometimes in the storage rooms. Sometimes they take others there too. I have seen them punish people for nothing." Kale's jaw tightened. Every word confirmed his worst fears. The abuse had been systematic, planned, and hidden in the daily routines of the castle. The guards were afraid, but so far they had underestimated him. He turned to Torin and Yarrick, his golden eyes blazing. "You will show me every place, every action, every hidden detail. There is no escaping the truth. I see everything, and I will uncover all your lies. The guards hesitated, but Kale's presence brooked no argument. Slowly, they began to lead him through the castle, showing him secret rooms, locked doors, and areas that were never meant to be seen by the Emperor. Each step revealed more evidence. Marks on the walls where someone had been tied, faint stains of blood on the floor, and hidden writings that recorded punishments in careful handwriting. Kale's mind worked swiftly, connecting every detail. The conspiracy was more dangerous than he had imagined, but he remained calm, controlled, and focused. The human maid's courage had given him a starting point, and he would use it to unravel the truth. As they moved through the hidden areas, Kale noticed another sign of recent activity. A small, folded note lying on the floor, nearly invisible in the shadow. He picked it up with careful claws and read the message. It was a warning. Someone had been trying to cover their tracks, but in their haste, they had left a clue. The guards exchanged nervous glances, realizing that Kale's investigation was deeper and more precise than they could have imagined. The balance of power in the castle was shifting. Kale finally stopped in the largest hidden room, where faint scratches and bruises lined the walls. The human maid's eyes filled with fear as she recognized the space. Kale's voice was firm, but calm. "Now I know everything that has happened here," he said, "and I will find the ones responsible for these crimes. They cannot hide from me. The truth will be revealed, and justice will be served." The guards hung their heads, sweat on their brows, aware that the Dragon Emperor's patience was not infinite. Kale's golden eyes swept the room, scanning every corner, every shadow, ensuring nothing was left unseen. The young maid stepped closer to Kale, her small voice trembling. Will they pay for what they did?" Kale's gaze softened slightly, but his resolve remained unshaken. "Yes," he said firmly. "No one in my castle will harm the innocent. Not while I am here. But we must move carefully. There are more secrets to uncover, and some of them will be dangerous." The sun rose higher, casting long beams of light into the castle halls. Yet the shadows of deceit still lingered. Kale's investigation had begun, and the first threads of the conspiracy were unraveling. But he knew that the hardest part was yet to come, uncovering the full scope of betrayal within his own walls. And somewhere, in the hidden corners of the castle, those who thought they were safe trembled. The Dragon Emperor was watching, and he would not stop until the truth was revealed. The castle of Paragon seemed calm, but Dragon Emperor Kale knew better. Every shadow could hide danger, every whisper could mask betrayal. The bruises on the young human maid had been just the first sign of a deeper darkness within the castle walls. Now, Kale's investigation had begun to uncover a hidden threat, one far greater than he had first imagined. Kale moved silently through the corridors, his golden eyes scanning every corner. The guards who had tried to hide the truth from him were trembling, their fear barely contained. But the Emperor sensed that the danger went beyond them. Someone or something was orchestrating the abuse from behind the scenes. The castle itself seemed to hold its breath as Kale pieced together the clues. He paused near the storage room where the maid had been punished. The air smelled faintly of iron and oil, and faint scratches marked the walls. But there was something else. A symbol, carved hastily into the corner of a wooden beam. Kale leaned closer, examining it carefully. It was a mark of a secret faction, one that had infiltrated his castle long ago. Their purpose was hidden, their influence subtle, but their reach was dangerous. Kale's mind raced. The guards had acted under orders, but whose orders? Who had the authority and cunning to manipulate even the most loyal servants of the castle? The answer was not far off. He had seen signs, small hints left behind in documents, messages hidden in the margins of ledgers, whispers among frightened servants. The conspiracy was deep, organized, and careful. As he moved through the castle, Kale heard a faint noise from the upper levels. A soft creak of wood, almost like footsteps, but slower, careful. His eyes narrowed. Someone was moving in secret, and Kale intended to find them. He followed the sound, wings folded tightly against his back, moving like a shadow. At the end of a long corridor, Kale found a small door partially hidden behind a tapestry. The lock was old but reinforced, and faint scratches around it suggested recent use. He opened it slowly, revealing a hidden chamber. Inside, the room was dimly lit, filled with crates and barrels. But there was something more: chains and bindings, faint bloodstains, and signs of struggle. Kale's gaze swept the room, and his golden eyes flared with anger. This was a place of punishment, of secret cruelty, used by those who thought they could act without consequence. He stepped further inside, his claws leaving faint marks on the floor as he moved. Then he saw it. Another maid, tied and trembling, her face pale with fear. The human maid from before gasped softly. They brought her here, she whispered. Her voice trembled with both fear and sorrow. I tried to help, but I couldn't. Kale's jaw tightened. The system of abuse was larger than he had imagined. The guards were not acting alone. They were part of a network, a hidden threat that had infiltrated the castle to exploit, punish, and control. And the young maid had been caught in their path. He turned his attention to the chains and bindings. They were crude but effective, designed to hold someone small and fragile. The other maid looked up at him with wide, terrified eyes. Kale lowered his voice, speaking gently but firmly. You are safe now. I will not allow them to harm you any longer. But we must act carefully. Those responsible are dangerous and clever. One wrong move could put more people at risk. The human maid nodded, her fear slowly mixing with hope. Kale's mind was already working. He had to find every member of this conspiracy and uncover the full extent of their plans. The guards who had lied were only the beginning. The hidden threat reached further, and he would need strategy, patience, and courage to confront it. Kale turned his gaze to the young maid, the one who had first led him to the hidden rooms. You have been brave to speak the truth, he said. Your courage has saved lives, and it will help me uncover everything. But I must warn you, danger is not over. The conspirators will try to hide their actions, and they may strike again. The maid swallowed hard, fear still shining in her eyes. I understand, Your Majesty. I will help however I can. Kale's eyes swept the chamber again. There were more clues, scraps of paper, tools used for punishment, and hidden notes. Every item was a piece of the puzzle, and Kale intended to solve it all. He turned back to the guards who had been following at a cautious distance, their fear palpable. You will show me everything, Kale said. Every secret passage, every hidden document, every action that has harmed the innocent. There will be no lies, no deception. The truth will come to light, whether you wish it or not. The guards hesitated, but they knew the Dragon Emperor's resolve was absolute. Slowly, reluctantly, they began to cooperate, revealing rooms and passages that even Kale had not yet discovered. Each revelation increased the stakes, showing a level of planning and cruelty that was almost unimaginable. As the day wore on, Kale pieced together a clearer picture of the hidden threat. The network of guards and other conspirators was extensive, and their motives were both selfish and cruel. They had manipulated fear, secrecy, and loyalty to maintain control, punishing those who could not defend themselves. But Kale's determination never wavered. The human maid's courage had given him the starting point, and now he had the knowledge and strength to confront the threat fully. He knew the next steps would be dangerous, but he was ready. The safety of the innocent and the honor of his kingdom demanded nothing less. As night fell again over the castle, Kale stood in the hidden chamber, his golden eyes glowing in the dim light. He had uncovered a deeper danger than he had imagined. But he also knew that justice was within his reach. The conspirators had underestimated the Dragon Emperor, and soon, they would learn that no secret could remain hidden from him. The human maid and the rescued servant watched silently, their fear slowly giving way to hope. Kale's presence was a promise. Justice would come, the guilty would be punished, and the castle of Paragon would be safe once more. But somewhere, hidden in the shadows of the castle, the conspirators whispered among themselves, unaware that their web of deceit was unraveling. The Dragon Emperor was watching, and the first threads of their carefully hidden plans were beginning to break. The castle of Paragon had never seen such tension. Dragon Emperor Kale moved silently through the shadowed halls, his golden eyes scanning every corner. The hidden threat was real, and he could feel it in every stone, every whisper, every shiver of fear among the servants. The young human maid and the rescued servant were following him cautiously, their trust in him absolute. Tonight, Kale would act. He paused at the corridor leading to the largest hidden room, the place where he had found the first signs of abuse. The guards who had lied and hidden evidence were stationed nearby, trembling. Kale's wings shifted slightly, a subtle reminder of his power. His presence alone commanded silence, but he needed more than that. He needed the truth and the guilty to face justice. "Show me where they are hiding the others," Kale said, his deep voice calm but carrying a dangerous weight. "Every secret passage, every hidden chamber. I want all of it." The guards hesitated, glancing at one another. Fear and guilt battled within them, but they knew they could not lie again. Slowly, they began to lead Kale and the maids through narrow, twisting corridors toward the heart of the conspiracy. Kale's mind was focused, calculating every possibility. The conspirators had been clever, hiding their tracks, punishing the innocent, and spreading fear to maintain control. But Kale had seen through their web, and tonight he would unravel it completely. They reached a hidden staircase, worn smooth by years of secret use. Kale descended carefully, his claws making no sound against the stone steps. The air grew colder as they moved deeper into the castle, and a faint metallic scent reached Kale's nostrils. The conspirators had been here recently. At the bottom of the staircase, a heavy door stood slightly ajar. Kale signaled the maid to stay back. He pushed the door open silently, revealing a large underground chamber. The room was dimly lit, shadows dancing across the walls. Chains hung from the ceiling, and the faint cries of frightened servants echoed in the distance. Kale's golden eyes flared with anger. "Release them," he commanded, his voice calm but deadly. "No one in this castle will harm the innocent while I am here." From the shadows, several guards and conspirators emerged, faces twisted with fear and defiance. They had thought the Dragon Emperor unaware, but now they faced him fully. Kale's massive form towered over them, wings spread slightly, scales gleaming like molten gold. "You have hidden your cruelty for too long," Kale said, voice low and commanding. "But your lies are finished. Now, face the truth of your actions." The conspirators tried to resist, but Kale was swift and precise. With a movement faster than any human could follow, he disarmed the nearest guard, knocking the weapon aside. The others froze, realizing the futility of resistance. Kale's eyes glowed with controlled fury. "Release them," Kale repeated, pointing to the bound servants. "Now!" Trembling, the conspirators obeyed, freeing those they had held captive. The young maids and other servants stumbled out of their bindings, rubbing sore wrists and trembling with relief. Kale watched, his gaze steady, ensuring no one would be harmed again. Once the servants were safe, Kale turned to the conspirators. "You thought you could hide your actions. You thought fear and secrecy could protect you. But the truth always finds its way to the light." The older guard, Yarrick, tried to speak. "Please, Your Majesty, we were just following orders." Kale's voice cut through him like steel. "Orders do not excuse cruelty. You chose to harm the innocent, and now you will face justice." The guards' faces went pale. They had underestimated the Dragon Emperor's resolve and intelligence. Kale moved forward, wings folded, every step deliberate. The young maid was brave enough to speak the truth. "Her courage has saved lives tonight. Your actions will not go unpunished." The rescued maid looked up at Kale, tears in her eyes. "Thank you, Your Majesty, for saving us." Kale nodded, his golden eyes softening slightly. "Courage, loyalty, and truth are the greatest strengths anyone can show. You have both, and that is why you are safe." The conspirators were rounded up, their plans exposed, their lies uncovered. The hidden rooms, the secret punishments, and the notes of deceit were all evidence against them. Kale ensured that every detail would be brought to light. Justice would be served. As the first light of dawn filtered through the castle walls, the tension in the halls began to ease. The servants who had suffered in silence could finally breathe, their fear replaced by hope. Dragon Emperor Kale stood tall, golden eyes sweeping the courtyard. The conspiracy had been uncovered, the guilty exposed, and the innocent protected. But Kale knew that the castle's shadows still held secrets. Some threads of the conspiracy might remain hidden, some danger might still linger. He would not rest until every threat to his people was eliminated. The Dragon Emperor's vigilance would continue, unwavering and absolute. The young human maid, standing beside him, felt a new sense of safety. She had witnessed the power, wisdom, and courage of the Emperor firsthand. And she knew that, as long as Kale watched over Paragon, the innocent would be protected, and justice would prevail. As the sun rose higher, casting long shadows through the castle halls, Kale turned to the freed servants. "Go now," he said. "Tell others that the innocent are safe. And remember, the truth is stronger than fear." The conspirators, now powerless and exposed, glared at him with fear and resentment. But Kale's presence was unwavering. He had uncovered the hidden threat, rescued the victims, and ensured that the guilty would pay. And somewhere, deep in the castle, new whispers began. Others watched, waited, and wondered if they could escape the Emperor's golden gaze. But Kale had shown them tonight that no darkness could remain hidden forever. The threads of conspiracy had been cut. The innocent were safe. And Dragon Emperor Kale, vigilant as ever, prepared for whatever challenges might come next. The castle of Paragon was quiet, but Dragon Emperor Kale could feel the tension lingering in every corner. The conspirators had been exposed, the hidden chambers discovered, and the innocent rescued. Yet, even as the first light of morning spilled over the towers, Kale knew that the story was not yet fully told. He walked through the courtyard, golden scales gleaming in the sunlight. The young human maid and the rescued servant followed closely behind, their faces still pale from fear, but now lit with hope. Kale's eyes swept the castle walls. Every shadow, every hidden room, and every corner held secrets, but the most dangerous had been uncovered. The conspirators were gathered in the central hall, their heads bowed in fear. Guards who had once been loyal to them now looked on, witnessing the Emperor's justice unfold. Kale stepped forward, his presence commanding absolute attention. "You have hidden cruelty in my castle," Kale said, his voice low but unyielding. "You have punished the innocent, spread fear, and betrayed the trust of this empire. Today, the truth is revealed, and justice will be served." The younger guard, Torin, trembled, eyes wide. "Your Majesty, we—" "Silence," Kale interrupted. "Your excuses do not change your deeds. The innocent have suffered because of your actions, and now you will face the consequences." One by one, the conspirators were held accountable. Evidence from the hidden rooms, scribbled notes, and testimonies from the rescued maids left no doubt. Kale ensured that justice was not only swift but fair. The guilty were stripped of their positions, punished according to the law of the empire, and made to understand the gravity of their crimes. The human maid stepped forward, her voice small but steady. "Thank you, Your Majesty, for seeing the truth and saving us." Kale lowered his massive head to her level. "Courage and truth are stronger than fear," he said gently. "You were brave enough to speak, and that bravery has saved lives. Remember that, and never doubt your worth." The rescued servant nodded, tears in her eyes. We are free because of you." Kale's golden eyes softened. "Freedom is your right," he said. "No one has the power to take it from you while I watch over this kingdom." As the day progressed, Kale oversaw the restoration of the castle's order. Guards who had remained loyal and just were praised, while those who had hidden or ignored wrongdoing were removed. Every corner of the castle was checked to ensure that no secret could be used to harm the innocent again. Yet, Even in victory, Kale's instincts remained sharp. The conspiracy had been serious, and there were hints that others might still be plotting in shadows beyond the castle walls. He could not let his guard down. The young maid sensed it too, looking at the emperor with a mix of awe and concern. "Your Majesty," she said quietly, "will it be safe now?" Kale's eyes glowed with calm authority. "For now, yes," he replied. "But vigilance is always necessary. There are always those who seek power through fear. That is why I remain. That is why I watch." The castle seemed to breathe easier, the servants smiling cautiously, relieved that the shadows of cruelty had been lifted. Kale walked through the halls one last time, golden eyes sweeping over familiar places, hidden corners, and the rooms of those who had suffered. Every detail mattered to him, every life sacred. At the highest tower, Kale stood looking out over the kingdom of Paragon. The sun was bright now, casting golden light over forests, rivers, and villages. The empire was safe, at least for today. But Kale knew that vigilance was eternal. Threats might arise, secrets might hide in darkness, and new challenges could appear. Yet the Dragon Emperor was ready. The young human maid stood beside him, feeling a newfound sense of safety and hope. She had witnessed the power of courage, intelligence, and justice. And she knew that, under the watchful gaze of Dragon Emperor Kale, the innocent would always have a protector. Kale's eyes scanned the horizon. Somewhere, in the distant forests or mountains, new threats might be stirring. But for now, the empire was at peace. The conspirators had been punished, the innocent were safe, and the castle of Paragon stood strong and secure. And as Kale turned back toward the castle, wings spread majestically, he knew that this was not the end of his watch. The shadows of the empire would always test him, but he would always rise, golden and powerful, ready to protect, to punish, and to uncover the truth. The young maid smiled faintly, a mixture of relief and admiration. "Thank you, Your Majesty," she whispered. Kale's golden eyes met hers. "No thanks is needed," he said. "Be brave, stay true, and remember, truth and courage are the greatest strength of all. And should darkness rise again, I will be there." The castle of Paragon returned to its rhythm, the halls no longer whispering fear, but humming with cautious hope. The emperor had restored justice, the innocent had been protected, and the kingdom was safer than it had been in a long time. Yet in the distant shadows, beyond the sight of even the keenest eyes, hints of new dangers whispered softly. And Dragon Emperor Kale, ever vigilant, knew that his duty was never finished. The story of courage, truth, and the triumph of the innocent had reached its conclusion, for now. But the legacy of the Dragon Emperor's watch would continue, golden eyes always searching, wings always ready, and justice always swift.